Hello, everyone. I am Sean, and once again, welcome back to my Horror Corner. As always, thank you so much for watching the video today, and a special thank you to those of you who have subscribed to the channel. You guys are the best. I really appreciate your support. Today, super excited to have one of my absolute best friends back on the channel after a little while, Brendan from Our Life in Horror. Brendan, thank you so much for coming on, sir.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I am one half of Our Life in Horror. The other one is all tuckered out from turkey and stuffing and just a absolute crazy weekend that we just had. So you're stuck with just me.
That's all right. Yeah, y'all have had a lot of stuff coming up on the thing that you guys were covering remotely, right?
Yeah, so we were lucky enough to have an opportunity to cover Screamfest LA remotely. So we watched like 7 movies or more in like I don't know, like it's almost like a movie a day, or even like 2 movies a day, if we can try to
Okay.
squeeze them in and then like review them immediately afterwards. So we've been kind of crunched for time with trying to get all this stuff in. I think right after we're done recording this, I'm gonna go watch another movie.
Yeah, y'all been staying busy, but I've been catching y'all's reviews on those movies. A lot of them I hadn't didn't know anything about, but I was writing them down after y'all were talking about them because I'm like, oh yeah, I want to go check that one out, and oh, I want to check that one out too. So yeah, but yeah, it's been good stuff. That was cool that y'all got the chance to do that. I'm sure anybody that watches my channel, I mean, you guys are responsible really for me even starting to do this, so they're all familiar with you already. But just in case somebody new pops in, take a minute to promote you guys' channel and what y'all do.
Yeah, so we do movie reviews. We do a lot of live shows. Most of the time, we're doing 2 live shows a week, either on topics or movies, bracket battles. I know that after a busy season, October is done. We're going to try to get back into He Made Me Watch and She Made Me Watch, which is a fun little series where I get to show Sam movies that she would normally not watch, and she gets to show me movies that I would normally not watch. So that's usually an interesting discussion there. But other than that, we're just loving movies, really.
Yeah, very cool. Well, yeah, definitely check their channel out if you do not already. Again, I'm sure most people that are familiar with me are already familiar with you, but if not, check it out. And today, Brendan and I are going to be talking about Candyman, which I think is one of your favorites, right?
Absolutely, this movie's fantastic.
Okay. I knew you had once before. It's been quite a while now, but you were on an episode on my channel where we were ranking some slashers, and I knew you had this one really high, and at the time I didn't, but it had been so long since I'd seen this movie. I mean, I've seen it multiple times. It had just been so long, and I think I honestly had forgotten how much I liked it. So when I watched this again just yesterday to get ready for recording this, I was sitting there and I was like, damn, how did I forget some of this stuff? This is a really, really good one. So yeah, um, I like this one as well. I really liked getting to rewatch it again. So, and when I decided to do it, when it came up on my list, you were the first person I thought of for this one because I know how big of a fan you are. So yeah, this will be fun to talk about with you today. Um, Real quick, just coming up on my channel next week, Brendan's going to be back and Sam's going to be with him, and we're going to be talking about Scream from 1996. After that, Mike and Serial are going to be on for the first time. We're going to be talking about Terrifier, so that will kind of round out October. And then as I get into November, we've got a lot of good stuff coming up. Kelly and Sarah from the Final Girls podcast are coming on to talk about Jeepers Creepers. Robbie and Kaylee will be back. We'll wrap up the Quiet Place franchise, talking about A Quiet Place Day One. Also, like the Blair Witch Project, Dead Snow, Immaculate. A lot of stuff coming up next month that will be fun as well. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do so. Let me put my glasses on so I can read a few notes real quick, and we will get into this. The tagline for the film: "The pain will be exquisite." Brief synopsis: The Candyman, a murderous soul with a hook for a hand, is accidentally summoned to reality by a skeptic grad student researching the monster's myth. Candyman was released October 16th of 1992, directed by Bernard Rose, screenplay by Bernard Rose, based on Clive Barker's story The Forbidden. Film was produced by Steve Golan and Alan Pohl. Cinematography by Anthony B. Richmond, edited by Dan Ray, music by Philip Glass. Before we go any further, let's stop right there for a minute and let's talk about cinematography, score, and story. Your thoughts on all of that, Brendan?
Oh, it's all top tier. Like I want to talk about the score mainly because I think the score is criminally underrated. You don't hear too many people talk about it. The simple piano
Yeah,
keys, you got like that orchestra or like what are those people like the people that just like do the
yeah, yeah. I don't know exactly what they're called either, but yeah,
I love that in scores, and this movie uses it to its advantage extremely well. It's a gothic score, even knowing it's a modern day setting.
right.
Um, what are your thoughts on the score?
No, I like it as well. I think the one theme that you hear quite a bit, I think they actually call it like Helen's theme, but I really like it. I agree with you. It's very underrated. And again, having been so long since I had seen this movie, I kind of forgot about it, to be honest with you. And when I was watching it yesterday, I kept thinking about that. I'm like, wow, this is really like it's perfect as far as setting the tone and just flowing with the movie. Just how smooth it all seems to go together. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of the score. Um, I think the cinematography is also really good. I like the way, I mean, it's not like you're getting a lot of beautiful stuff in this film as far as settings and things, but this movie does a great job of seeming very real to me. This is one of those movies I've talked with other people before, and you and I might have even talked about it a little bit. So many times I feel like, especially in more recent current movies, um, slashers in particular, everything is so beautiful, and everybody's so wealthy, and everything just looks so pristine and immaculate. And I like these movies that just feel more real. They feel more like what you see on a normal basis. I mean, you might not live in the slums, so to speak, but you still, it just looks more like real life. Everything doesn't have to be beautiful. I mean, it just looks more like something that, normal people such as myself experience. And so I like that atmosphere in a movie. I think it makes it easier to lose yourself in. So yeah, I like the cinematography. I like the score. I love the story. Yeah, I think all of it's top notch for this.
Yeah, well, the cinematography, like the way you described it, is absolutely true. It is real because, like, they recreated it in LA. They went and took photos of the Cabrini Green, and they recreated it all with on a LA backslot set.
Right.
And it's so funny that you said how real it is because the scene where Bernadette and Helen are walking into Cabrini Green,
Yeah.
those characters, those people that stop them, and they're like, "Oh, you guys, the cops! Like, what's going on?" Those are actual real gangsters.
Yeah. Yeah, which
So
is very cool. Yeah.
yeah, it's it, and it adds just an incredible realism. And I don't know, there's some sequences too that I think like whenever Helen is being hypnotized, I think it's an incredibly well lit and beautiful shot of her all the time. Like she
Yeah.
just looks gorgeous and just you can see that she's just so wide eyed and she's just on the brink of tears every time, but she can't cry,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something I was going to mention in a little bit too, is the fact that when I was doing some research for this, is they actually did, hypnotize the actress so that she wouldn't scream because they didn't want screams like what you get in normal things. So to try to get the right, just the way that she portrayed everything, they really were hypnotizing her to a degree, and that blows my mind. But I think it's a perfect choice because it just seems so, this movie seems so real to me, which is something that I realized the older I get, it's just something that I appreciate more and more. Recently on my channel, we've talked about a lot of older movies like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, things like that. And one of the things that I absolutely love about those movies is they don't feel like you're watching a movie. They feel like it's something that you could really see. And I think Candyman does that same thing, or at least for me, anyway. So, uh, yeah, I really like all of this.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like the walls being covered in graffiti and everything like that adds to the atmosphere and the
Yeah,
realism of the area in which they're traveling to. But
right.
I also think that all of Candyman's like graffiti portraits and stuff on the walls are incredibly gorgeous to look at.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, there's especially the shot of her crawling through the mouth
Right.
of Candyman is such a beautiful and creepy, eerie shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Um, let's go over to, well, real quick here. I'll just mention a couple other things. The film was distributed by TriStar Pictures, runtime of 101 minutes, budget of between $8 and $9 million, made 25 million at the box office, so did very well. Rotten Tomatoes scores 79% from critics, 63% from the audience. On IMDb, it's sitting at a 6.7 out of 10. Cast for the film: Virginia Madsen, Tony Todd, Xander Berkeley, Casey Lemons, and Vanessa Estelle Williams. Share with me your thoughts on cast and characters.
Well, I think everybody acts incredibly well. I don't see a hole in anybody's acting. I feel like each of these characters were portrayed by the actor that should be playing them. Like, I know I was just watching some special features on the on my copy, and Tony Todd said that the studio that was trying to that was making the movie were trying to push for Eddie Murphy to play
Yeah.
Candyman. What a horrible choice that would have been for this movie. Could you
I
imagine
agree.
him just cracking jokes and
I
shit? Like,
know.
oh my god! Thank God they came to their senses and they actually had Tony Todd come in, because he owns this character.
Absolutely.
His voice is so incredible. He holds such a screen presence. Uh, I don't know. It's hard to describe. Like, he's beautiful to watch in this movie. He
Right.
really is.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, and I did see that as well. Yeah, that Eddie Murphy had been their original choice, and what it came down to is they couldn't afford him. They couldn't pay the money that he wanted to do this, and yeah, that I think that could have been a disaster. I mean, he did okay in what's the Vampire in Brooklyn? Is that the one that he did? He did fine in that, but that would not have worked him as Candyman. And when you watch Tony Todd, and like you said, his voice. Brendan and I were just talking about on a Hellraiser episode I did, Doug Bradley's voice for Pinhead uh, being so huge and such a big part of it. And I think this is even more so. It's just so iconic and perfect casting, perfect portrayal. Yeah, it's amazing the job that Tony Todd does. And like you, I think everybody does a great job. This is very well acted. I was going to ask you. I also saw where Sandra Bullock was being considered for the role of Helen. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I saw that they were considering her for the role of Helen. In fact, so from what I was reading, Virginia Madsen actually was auditioning for the role of Bernadette, and Bernard Rose, who directed and did the screenplay, his wife was going to play Helen, but she was pregnant and couldn't, and so they ended up then offering the role of Helen to Virginia Madsen. If she would have declined, they were going to pursue Sandra Bullock. They were very interested in her for the role, but I really like Sandra Bullock, and I'm not saying she would have done a bad job, but I don't know. It's hard to imagine because I think Virginia Madsen nails this role as well. I think she does fantastic. So as much as I like Sandra Bullock, I really can't imagine anybody else doing this part either.
I know that's so hard, right? Like,
Yeah,
Sandra Bullock is such an amazing actress. Don't get me wrong. I do. She's had some amazing career, absolutely flawless. But like, Virginia Madison taken out of this role,
yeah,
it you live with the movie for so long, it's almost impossible to see anybody else in the role, right?
right.
It's
Yeah,
it's definitely the Freddy Krueger syndrome we got going on here. We can't see anybody else
100%.
but Robert Englund playing Freddy.
Yeah, and so I'm going to have you, as long as you're willing, I'm going to have you come back with me from time to time and go through this whole franchise. But I am curious, real quick, just a side note, and we don't have to go into any major detail, but um, I am curious your thoughts when you compare that remake from it was like 2021 or 2022 to this original. Do you have a preference? Did you think the remake was as good or not quite?
Um, as good, probably not, but it would probably be the second best in the franchise so far that I've seen. I've only
Okay.
seen the sequel and the remake. I haven't seen Day of the Dead yet.
Okay.
I am looking forward to discussing the rest of this franchise with you, because I haven't made it all the way through, so that'll just give me
Okay.
a perfect excuse to make it all the way through this franchise.
Right.
But I know me and Sam are huge fans of the original Candyman and the I don't know, legacy sequel, I guess it would
Yeah,
be to
yeah,
like but yeah, I think that was one of our first movies back in theaters after COVID hit. So
yeah. I think that's
I,
right.
I think it made that much more of an impact on us because we hadn't been to the movies in like a year and a half.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious your thoughts on. I like it as well. I don't like it as well as this one, but I do like it. It's just I don't know. I think I struggled a little bit with. I have got to get out of that mentality because I struggle so much with certain, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. My biggest issue was that it wasn't Robert Englund. The Child's Play thing. My biggest issue was that it was not Brad Dourif. And I think even in for this, I wanted Tony Todd. I have such a hard time getting away from those guys that I've watched for years doing these roles that it's hard for me to watch somebody else. But that being said, it was still that, like you said, legacy sequel is a better way to put it. It was still really good. I think I just still prefer this original, but yeah, we'll get more into that when the time comes. Um, Let me see if I had anything else behind the scenes that I wanted to mention before we started walking through this real quick. Um Clive Barker's original story is set in Liverpool in England, but Bernard Rose was impressed by what the architecture looked like in Chicago, where the film is set, and then also the amount of actual prejudice they ran into when touring locations. That's why he wanted a Chicago setting. Um, Rose also wanted to showcase regular human beings trying to get by and living in poor conditions, but avoid the tropes of gangs and drugs. I mean, there is the one gang in there, and I think there's even some commentary on that from one of the actresses. Like we're all supposed to be in a gang and on drugs that live here, right? But that's not the way it is. That's something that
mhm.
Rose really wanted to point out. We talked about Eddie Murphy. We talked about Sandra Bullock. Tony Todd came up with the backstory for Candyman. He stated that he wanted the role because he always wanted to find his own personal Phantom of the Opera, and he felt like he found it with Candyman. I completely agree. We've talked about Todd's performance; it's absolutely iconic, and he's great. I mean, Tony Todd is great in everything he does, right? But I think I'll always think Candyman initially. When you think about Tony Todd, again, he's great in everything he does, not just horror. I mean, everything I've seen him in, he was fantastic. But um, yeah, I think he's just. You think Tony Todd, you think Candyman, or vice versa.
Oh yeah, of course. He even knew that that was gonna be in the interview I just watched with him. He said that in his first 3 lines of his obituary, it was gonna be Candyman, 100%. He
Yeah,
said that the fans that go to see him at conventions, everybody wants a picture of signed Candyman,
right.
and he's like, I've been in 200 other movies, but for some reason everybody still wants Candyman. So he's like, I'm more than happy to own this role.
Yeah, and I wish that I never got the opportunity, unfortunately, to meet him. Did you ever get the chance to meet him at any of the cons or anything you went to?
No, unfortunately not. Um he canceled on the con that we were going to see him at, and then shortly passed after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I unfortunately didn't get to meet him either, but everything I've ever heard sounds like he was an absolutely amazing human and very cool with the fans, that kind of thing. So, yeah, very cool. Uh, Something a lot of people probably already know, but it still blows my mind every time I read it. Over 200,000 honeybees were used, and Todd negotiated $1,000 for each of the stings that he received during the scene where they were trying to put the bees in his mouth and then him put them back out. He got stung 23 times and received $1,000 for each sting. But they also had to change up the bees a little bit because Virginia Madsen was allergic. And so they couldn't just do the same kind of thing for her where they paid her a fee for it. She couldn't get stung. So they had to make some adjustments on the scenes that she was in there and shoot things a little bit differently. So it's really all I've got as far as anything behind the scenes. Anything else you want to mention or bring up before we start walking through the plot?
There was a bee wrangler on set. Have you heard?
I
So
did hear that.
Tony Todd told the story where he met the bee wrangler, and he's like, "Oh, you got to come in the trailer where all the bees are." And he's like, "I don't want to do that." And he forces him in there, and he's like, "It's really easy to try to get along with the bees. Is you just got to humanize them." So the bee wrangler started naming them Jerry and Jeff and
Oh, wow.
Lori and stuff like that. And he's like, you know what? It took a lot of the fear out of them, so that's why he didn't get stung so many times.
Oh, wow. Okay, no, I had not heard that part. I mean, I had heard that there was a bee wrangler on set, but I didn't know that part that you were sharing about. It's so
Do
interesting.
you do you have this copy? Just curious if you
I
have the
do
Scream
not.
Factory.
Yeah, I would like to have that copy. That's not the one I have, so I think that's probably you have access to some special features there that I don't. But I may have to get that one because I'd like to watch some of that. I'm sure there's some pretty cool stuff on there.
Did you watch the unrated cut then, or did you watch the theatrical cut?
The theatrical is the one I just watched the other day.
Okay. I've only I think I've only ever seen this uncut. I don't know if
Okay,
I've actually seen it cut. Um, I don't think it adds too much as a point of time. It
okay.
doesn't say here; it just says 99 plus minutes. So I am curious. I'm sure it just adds little extra gore sequences here and there.
Yeah, probably just a little bit, but I am curious. I'd like to watch that one and see what yeah, what is different. It's interesting to catch that sometimes. Um, Opening scene of the film, we kind of get started off with the overhead of the city. Um, you hear Tony Todd's voice, Candyman speaking a little bit, and then you kind of get a shot of what looks like bees kind of shooting up into the sky. Um, and then there's a couple, but before we start talking about this couple, as much as I'm curious your thoughts on the way that opening scene looks, because as much as I like everything about this movie, the only shot that I think doesn't look good is that shot where the bees are coming up into the sky there at the very opening of the movie. I don't know, for some reason that one, I don't think that looks good at all. But that's the only shot, and everything else I think in this movie looks incredible. What were your thoughts on the opening scene and the way that shot took place?
I mean, I do agree that there are a couple bad shots in the movie. I didn't take this as one of them.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It didn't take me out of the movie by any chance or by any means. Really, I think it was kind of a cool statement to show that something big is coming, and it's going to revolve around a lot of bees. Unfortunately, if
Yeah.
you're scared of bees, but
Right.
I am a sucker for like old timey like special effects and stuff like that. So like I love old school lightning effects. You know how they
Okay.
like super pop out and they look
Right.
ridiculous.
Okay.
I love those effects. Like whenever I see those in movies, I'm like totally charmed up, and I'm like, this movie's getting an extra point just for that.
Just for that. Okay.
Yeah. So
Um,
like this is another kind of one of those cases where it never takes me out.
Gotcha. And it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't take me out of the movie either. I just thought, and I'm like you, I like a lot of that stuff as well. I really like the way things were done before. Just for some reason, I didn't like the way that looked. But again, it didn't take me out of the movie. That, and that's going to be the only nitpick I have with this movie the entire way through was just that. So it's pretty minor. But then, of course, we do get the couple talking about the Candyman lore. Um, the guy says Candyman four times, and then he walks away. The woman says it, and then Candyman appears. As far as our opening kill and opening introduction, anything stand out to you on how we got started here?
You will never be able to convince me that Todd Raimi is a bad boy. Because that's how the lady telling the story describes it. He's like, oh, he was the hot bad boy, and she was all
Right.
into him. I'm like, that dude's a geek through and through. There is you can throw a leather jacket on him. That doesn't help his case one bit.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Other than that, you know what? I love it, and I love how it ends too, because like she's the person telling the story is like, it was my friend's brother's sister
Yeah.
right afterwards, and I love that because this movie's like it's all about urban myths and stuff like that. So like it's always passed down from somebody different. You know, somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody that was married to somebody who this happened to, right?
Right.
So I love it, and like this could also change between like different things, but it's cool to see what remains the same
Yeah.
from like the opening story to Jake's story with the boy in the bathroom, which was when
Right.
the person went to go see the horrific scene that had just taken place. Both of their hair just turned completely white after seeing it, which is
Yeah.
one common thing in both stories that I just love. It's just a small little detail like that I really like.
Yeah, and I like it as well. I'm with you 100%. I had actually, because it had been so long since I'd seen this movie, I had forgotten about this, to be completely honest with you. And yeah, so watching it yesterday, as much as I was talking about how I didn't like the scene with the bees going up into the sky, I immediately forgot about it as we got into this because I really do love this opening as well, and the way the girl's telling the story, and the same thing you were saying. It's that urban myth and the way stories get passed down. But um, yeah, I love the opening to the film. And I love the fact that we really don't see that much. I mean, yeah, you see Candyman appear behind her, and then the guy's looking up and kind of sees the blood coming through the ceiling. But um, yeah, I thought it was put together really well. So I'm right there with you. I absolutely love the opening. And then we get introduced to Helen and Bernadette as they're doing research on this myth, um, going around doing interviews. We meet Helen's husband, Professor Trevor, I believe is his name, and we kind of see some things that he may have going on there. Um, as we get introduced to Helen and Bernadette and to some of these characters, and we're going through and watching them do research on this Candyman character. Um, any thoughts that stand out to you as far as any of the characters, or the way the story is setting up and playing out with this research and what they're looking into, hearing the different stories about Candyman, that kind of thing?
I think that Trevor's classroom discussion is a little, it diminishes the urban myth, right? Like he's talking about disproving the alligators being flushed down the toilet kind of theory or
Right,
whatever. And that's kind of like what myths are. Is myths are always based on something that actually happened, whether it's Candyman, which shows Candyman's backstory later on in the film, to you know who are the hitchhikers. There's somebody in the back seat.
right,
These are all incidents of something actually happened, and then they become folklore towards everybody else.
yeah,
So I don't like that his bias. Well, I guess maybe his bias is supposed to be like that because he doesn't believe in it.
right,
And then at the end, he gets his justice served. I'll call it.
right.
So I guess maybe that does make sense towards, but I kind of like it because that sequence is very well. Uh, Urban legend kind of steals that with Robert Englund, kind of talking about
Yeah, I
the
was
same
thinking
thing
the
with the
same
pop
thing.
rocks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. But at least because I was thinking the exact same thing when you were talking about that. They do kind of steal it, but I think the movie Urban Legend, it's doing it with a little bit of a humor sense to it because of the guy. I think it's Joshua Jackson that plays that character. Then he comes up and does his whole thing, and they kind of make a joke out of it. Whereas uh, Candyman's not going that route. It's not like we're making a joke out of it. It's just you know Trevor being Trevor. So I'm kind of with you. I don't really like the way he's looking at it either, but he does get, like you said, he get what's coming to him later on. But I mean, other than that, I like the introduction to the characters. I think another thing that I really appreciate about this film is the relationship between Helen and Bernadette, because we were talking about the performances. I think both Virginia Madsen and gosh, I'm just drawing a blank and don't want to go look back through my notes. But the lady that plays Bernadette, I think they do such a great job because they feel like real friends. I mean, they really feel like they're very close and doing this together and have a bond there. So I like that relationship dynamic between them. I think it comes across as very real, just like some other things I mentioned in the movie. So, um, right off the bat, I like Helen. I like Bernadette. I like what they're doing and what we're getting from their interviews and their research. And, right off the bat, not a fan of Trevor, and looks like he's got something going on with the student that we'll find out more about later on. So yeah.
We sure will.
um,
Yeah, another thing about their investigation too that I like is, you know, they are not just interviewing students; they're interviewing whoever they can. So, like, they end up
right.
interviewing some cleaning ladies as well.
Yeah.
And what you said about their relationship is really great too, because I think Helen is so naive to what she kind of gets her in like herself into and what
Yeah.
environment she decides to put herself into without any kind of second thought, as where Bernadette is totally prepared and she's just preparing for a worst case scenario. She doesn't know if anything is going to happen, but
Right.
she comes from she could be coming from a different world. We don't get to learn that much about Bernadette's backstory, but she
Right.
understands that these projects are a dangerous place, and we are two women walking into a world that is run by gangs. Like,
Yeah,
so like she brings mace.
yeah,
She brings a couple other items where Helen is like, we'll be fine.
yeah.
They're not gonna worry about us. It's fine. And I'm
Right.
like, girl, you're a white woman walking into the fucking hood. You're screwed. Uh,
Yeah, 100%.
the only saving grace that they had was that they thought they were cops at some point.
Right.
Like that's probably it. Otherwise, they would have been sewered.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Which they should have taken advantage of that because they were just kind of like trying to avoid people and get away. I'm like, yeah, y'all should have been like, yeah, we're cops, just to get them to leave them alone. But yeah, no,
yeah,
I agree with you 100%. And I do like that dynamic there where you get the different feeling from both of these ladies while they're going through all of this. Um, Even when they get up there and they're looking through different areas and they have a moment there in I believe it's in Helen's apartment where she starts doing the whole Candyman thing, and you can tell that she has no idea how serious this is. You know, she's just saying Candyman and kind of laughing, but Bernadette's like, I don't know that we should be doing this. You know, so it's yeah, I like that dynamic from them as well. And we kind of get some shots there where you mentioned it earlier, where Helen's taking pictures and she crawls through that bathroom cabinet, and you get the scene where she's crawling through the Candyman's mouth from the other side there. I like all of those shots. I think everything looks really good. Um, and I just think this is a great setup for everything. But I also don't think I've heard one person say that they like Candyman, but they feel like it's a little slow starting. Um, I don't feel that way. I mean, maybe it takes a little bit for anything major to really happen, but I just think the storytelling is done so well here, and the performances are so good. Do you feel like this is a slow beginning to this film at all?
I personally don't think so, but I was invested right off the bat, and I think the first half of the film is kind of Helen accidentally demystifying and putting a face to Candyman, which is the only reason for him really to come back.
Right.
So with we find out that this mobster gangster is taking on the persona of Candyman, and once like humanized, like he's obviously a real person, people start
Yeah.
the community would stop believing in the myth, and that's what keeps Candyman alive.
Right.
So therefore he needs a reason to come back. So it's only at that point when he's arrested and everybody's like, oh, they got the Candyman, he's not going to
Yeah.
be a problem no more. Now he's like, oh, I got to go fuck shit up.
Yeah.
So I got to come back and start killing some people, just to make sure that I stay alive and my believers still believe that I'm here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree with you. Um, we also get to meet here Anne Marie, who becomes a key character, and find out kind of what she's dealing with. She's got the baby there. Helen and Bernadette interview her a little bit. We also see that Anne Marie has this huge fear of the Candyman. Um, any thoughts on this particular character? I mean, I think the actress does a great job with this role as well. I don't think that there's really anything. Her story comes more into play later on. But yeah, I mean, I think it's another strong performance, but nothing really jumping out at me in the introduction to her and the interaction there.
I mean, you're never really sure at the beginning of the movie what she's potentially going to be, right?
Right.
She's very standoffish at the beginning, and then she eventually invites them in, and um, she just wants to make sure that she's not going to you know, um, become like you said earlier, like misrepresented as
Right.
a black woman living in this place, and she's not going to be lumped in with the rest of the people that are drug users or gang members or anything like
Right.
that. So she's very reserved. So you're not sure exactly what she's going to do or say. So it's
Yeah.
nice that she opens up and actually tells them. And she's just out here trying to raise her baby. But I think she's a fantastic actress. I also think the little boy that plays Jake is also fantastic.
Yeah. He is. I agree.
He makes me laugh. I would rescue that boy from the projects in a heartbeat. That little boy is so sweet.
Yeah, he is. Um, we get to a scene there where we hear Candyman's backstory from they're having dinner, I believe, and so it's Trevor, it's Helen, it's Bernadette. I cannot for the life of me think of the other guy's name with the long hair. He's another professor that apparently had written the story on
The
Candyman quite some time ago.
the pompous ass. That's what he
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, but he gives us the backstory there on Candyman. So I enjoy that scene, even though I don't like that guy even a little bit. I like the way he does tell the story, um, and getting to find out, about Candyman. Um, I think I did primarily remember almost everything though from that scene. So again, even though not a good character, the performance is fine, and I like the way the story gets told. Um, from there, we do move into the scene where, like you were talking about, the little boy, Helen going into the bathroom, the guy who's pretending to be Candyman coming in there. What exactly, other than, and again, I just watched this yesterday, but I think I expected maybe them to do a little more because basically he just hits her and knocks her out, right? Not much else happens. I mean, they just kind of beat her up.
They also
Um,
destroy the camera.
okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm
So
glad you
I
said that.
think,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, I think if anything, it's going to be more of a scare tactic than anything.
Okay,
Um, because you kill a white woman in the hood, police are going to be all over the fucking place
yeah,
asking questions that they
absolutely.
shouldn't be, right? Like
Right.
even Helen makes a comment about that earlier, that this man had been there on the loose for a long time, and like um, I forget what her name is, um, Anne Marie
Yeah, Marie.
makes
Yeah,
phone calls to the police and they don't believe her, and it takes forever for them to come, and by the time they do come, the other woman is dead, and it just
right.
takes one white woman to make a phone call, and then all of a sudden they raid that whole fucking building. They talk about going from floor to floor to floor to flush everybody out, and it's like
Right.
um they just didn't want to send cops there at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. And I did forget that they destroyed the cameras. You're right. And yeah, I remember watching it yesterday, and I was thinking then, I'm like, she's lucky that it didn't get any worse than it did. But yeah, you're exactly right with why it didn't, because yeah, it could have definitely it could have definitely changed things. Um, from there, Helen gets some more photos of Candyman that she's looking through, and we finally get the iconic scene where she's walking through this parking garage and she gets to meet the real Candyman. And yeah, I absolutely love this scene. I love the interaction between her and Candyman there in the parking garage. I love the introduction that we get to him in that way. Um, before she wakes up there in Anne Marie's house, just share with me your thoughts on that iconic parking garage scene.
Oh, it's just like you said, it's iconic. Like you can't, like the imagery is great, like the voice, how they made his voice echo in post
Yeah,
production and then slide it back in, and it looks flawless. You never even noticed that was done
right.
like that. You almost thought it was recorded
Yeah,
on set to be like that. But Virginia Madison is just like the lighting on her during all those kind of shots. I think is perfect. Just it's almost like the Bela Lugosi shot, the Bela
yeah,
Lugosi back in Dracula, the original one, when
right.
they focus on his eyes and he's like hypnotizing people, but she's the one that's
Yeah,
being hypnotized in the sequence. So I think every line of dialogue he speaks is also like so can't even say it. I can't even
it's
say it.
okay.
It's intellectual. There we go. We'll say it. We'll
Sophisticated,
say
I
that.
think, is what you were
Yes,
looking for. Yeah,
that's the word. I can. My tongue always gets caught up on that word for some
no, I
reason,
get
but
it.
and it shows like a difference, a difference between the people of color that she was dealing with before and to this guy now.
Right.
Like he was it's very well spoken. I know we're gonna get to the backstory here shortly, so I'll save that. But
No, go ahead. I mean,
um,
we talked about the one guy kind of telling the backstory. So yeah, if you feel free to go ahead. Um,
well,
because yeah, I agree with you.
it's cool because like he was, well, it's not cool. It's horrific, but he lived in a time when his father ended up being free, and he patented something and made lots of money off of it. So he sent his son off to all these prestigious schools so he would also be free at the time, right? But
Right.
in 1800s America, you could never escape the real racism of the world, and
Right.
interracial relationships, of course, were never seen as good. So he unfortunately succumbed to the real outcomes. Even knowing he was a highly intelligent man,
Right.
you couldn't stop the racism that was happening at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't matter. Yeah, I like that as well because yeah, I think you're spot on with, everybody had, nowadays a lot of times we see there's this certain like when you think about the what went on in the 1800s and the slavery and that kind of thing, you kind of get this certain picture in your head of this is what people were like, but that's not necessarily true. And it but it didn't matter. It didn't matter how educated, how well spoken, uh, how successful any of that he was. He still had to go through all of these things. So yeah, I like the way that's brought out as well. And I'm with you. I think everything about that parking garage scene, the way it's shot, the sound, uh, Tony Todd's performance, Virginia Madsen's performance, everything is it's spot on. I mean, it's done so incredibly well. Um, and to go from that, which is almost like this deep mesmerizing scene, and then you go straight from that into now Helen waking up in Anne Marie's apartment, and she's got blood all over her, and we don't know what has happened to the baby. She's decapitated the dog, and Anne Marie's screaming, and all of this is going on, and the police come busting in. I think it's just such a great job of going from like one setting to another flawlessly. You're in this scene where you're almost as captivated as she is by Candyman and the way he's coming across and what he's saying, and then it goes from that to just absolute chaos for a minute. I like that transition. I think it was done really well. And yeah, this is another scene that I absolutely love, and I had forgotten. Again, because it had been so long since I'd seen this, I remember the baby missing. I completely forgot about the dog, and so seeing that yesterday, and I was like, "Oh yeah." So, um, what were your favorite parts about that scene and that transition?
I think you described it perfectly well. Like, yeah, she is literally descended into chaos by the time she wakes up, and there's blood everywhere. And in one of the interviews, Virginia Madison was saying that the director was like, more blood, more blood, more blood. Like he was
Yeah,
just throwing blood all over the place. So, and it's an incredibly violent looking, bloody scene. Like,
it really is.
there's not a whole lot violent happens, but it looks like something taking place there incredibly violently. And the dog's head is just a quick snippet, so you don't get a long sequence of that. But it's a raw emotional feeling you get from Anne Marie,
Yeah,
who is like, this woman did something to my baby, and she's gonna tell me, or she's going down.
yeah,
Um, and then, of course, Helen is caught in the worst possible position imaginable when the cops burst in through the doors,
yeah,
um, because it's definitely not going to help her case in looking sane by any means,
yeah.
or that she didn't do something to the baby.
Right.
So yeah, it's disheartening too, because you're rooting for Helen this whole time, and then you're like, oh, what did she do? Because we
Yeah.
as an audience don't know either. Like,
Right.
you could almost treat this as like, she's an unreliable narrator, and maybe her knowing that her husband has been cheating on her has driven her solely mad too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think that's one of the things that you mentioned there that I do love about this. Two things actually that you mentioned, because the fact that you don't really see what took place, and we're just coming in afterwards and seeing the aftermath, blood everywhere, very chaotic. But I think that's a good choice to go because sometimes I think you and I have talked about it. I know I've talked about it with other people. Sometimes what you don't see is scarier than what you do see, and so to come in on the end of this where you're just seeing the aftermath, it just makes your mind go crazy. Like, what the hell just happened? Like, what exactly was taking place in here? And then exactly like you were saying, the fact that um because for me, like immediately, yes, you're behind Helen, you're rooting for her, you're wanting everything to be okay, but I'm immediately like, she did it. I mean, she did do it. Like she's between dealing with what she's dealt with in her husband, and now she's mesmerized by Candyman. Like, yeah, she had to have done this. Like, she has to. So, but I like the setup. I like the way this is playing out, and the way this story is unfolding before us. So yeah, I'm right there. I'm for Helen, but I'm immediately thinking, I think she did it. I really do think she did this.
Here's the interesting question I'm going to pose, and I'm curious to know
Okay.
your answer. Do you think
Okay.
that she was possessed by Candyman to do these things, or do you think she was just brought there and Candyman did these acts while she was hypnotized or knocked out?
Okay. So my initial answer, before a scene coming up in a few moments, my initial answer would be I feel like she was possessed by Candyman and she did these things. Like that's what I think. However, there's a scene coming up that we'll get to here in just a moment where she's in the doctor's office. She's talking with Dr. Burke, I think is his name, the psychiatrist, and something happens there that there's an argument to be made that maybe she did that as well, and just what she saw happening was just the way she was picturing it. But that makes me think, no, Candyman really did do it. So for this scene, I almost feel like not knowing what's coming, I would have been like, I think she was possessed by Candyman and she did this. But with the scene that comes up later, makes me second guess that. So I'm not sure. Is my best answer to your question. What do you
Okay.
think?
I don't know. I was kind of hit and miss. So like, yeah, I'm honestly not sure either.
Okay.
Would be curious to know if there was a definitive answer on that. Um, it's a really tough question because during Bernadette's experience too, I was just sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, who is she seeing? Or is she seeing anybody at all? Or is she seeing Virginia Madsen's character, but
Right. Well,
not
because
right?
the impression that we get from Anne Marie, like I feel like Anne Marie's seeing Helen. Like I feel like that's what makes me believe that she was possessed. Is I feel like that's what just happened. I feel like Anne Marie has seen Helen do these things, but um, I don't know that, and I think you said you wonder if there's a definitive answer. I mean I've never read that story from Clive Barker. I'd kind of like to go back and read the story to see if it gives any clarity there, but um, I almost feel like we're not supposed to know. I almost get the impression that that's the way Clive Barker wanted it, is us guessing. Like even when the movie's over, was Helen possessed? Did she do all this, or did Candyman really do it? So I feel like we're not supposed to know. But yeah, I can't make up my mind, so I'm not
Well,
sure. But
Anne Marie didn't see anything. She came back to the apartment and found her baby missing and all the blood on the floor.
okay, yeah, I guess you're right. That's a good point. For some reason, I was thinking she only saw part of it. I think for some reason I was thinking that she saw the dog part, but she didn't know what happened to the baby. But I guess you're right. Yeah, she didn't see anything at all because she does come in after everything is over. So yeah, that knocks out my train of thought on that. So yeah, um, so that makes it even harder to figure out. Man, I really don't know. That's a
I
good
know.
question.
I was kind of like thinking about it the whole time I was watching this movie, and I'm like, I can't come up with an answer myself either.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, when we get to that other scene here in a minute, there's what really I'm going to ask you the question again, and I guess when we get to that scene, because I'm curious there. But um, once this is over and Helen finally gets out of jail and she's back home, she's looking through some of the photos that she has taken. And there's a really cool shot where she sees Candyman in the background of one of her photos. And then we get the Bernadette thing that arrives. I wanted to ask you this with you watching the uncut, because me just watching the theatrical cut again yesterday, um, I really thought that you saw more of Bernadette. Maybe again, not exactly what happened, but aftermath. But you don't really see that in the theatrical cut. In fact, you're not even certain until some conversation that takes place of what happened to Bernadette. In what you watch, do you see more of that, or
You
is it
get a couple
left?
linger, yeah, you get
Okay,
a couple linger shots on Bernadette's body
okay.
on the
You don't
aftermath.
get that in the theatrical then. So I was watching that and I was like, I know I've seen that before, but I'm not seeing it right now. So yeah, I'm glad you said that because I thought I was losing my mind for a minute. But and then yeah, with Helen getting arrested, and now she ends up in the psych ward. Um, yeah, again, another scene that I like. I think the fact. I mean, I hate the fact in some ways that Bernadette's character got killed, but um, it's just up in the ante now. I mean, things are getting progressively worse for Helen, and more is happening. Um, Anything since you got to see the uncut version there of that scene that I didn't see? Anything jump out at you there, or that you enjoyed more than there, or was it similar to the Anne Marie scene where you're just kind of wondering what happened?
I was kind of in the same boat where I was still kind of wondering. So within that scene, we also get the excellent like arm out of the medicine cabinet box jump scare.
Yes, yes,
What fantastically done.
yeah. I forgot to mention that. You're right.
Um, and then yeah, you're never sure about what's kind of happening. You see Virginia Madsen on the floor saying that he's here, and she walks in, and you just don't see anybody else interact with Candyman besides Helen.
Right,
So it was just odd that like for the first time her best friend is going to be seeing Candyman and almost interacting with him when nobody else seemingly has done that throughout the whole movie. So
right,
I was like, is she seeing Candyman or is she just stunned to see Helen waiting for her with a knife behind the door?
right.
Um, yeah, and the gory aftermath of that is pretty good. It doesn't hold on it for too long. Like you do get it twice, but it's very quick both times.
Okay, okay. And yeah, again, I really feel like that's what I think that's what Clive Barker wanted. I think he wanted us. Yeah, I think he wanted us questioning it. So we get into a scene here, and here's where um, I still wrestle with that. Did Candyman really do it, or was she possessed? Because when she's talking with Dr. Burke, he shows her a recording of herself. Because prior to this, she's laying there in the bed and she's chained down, and she sees Candyman again. He's talking to her and like hovering above her, right? And then he kind of goes down beside the bed, and she starts screaming and trying to tell people that he's under the bed now. But when the doctor shows her this recording, we never see that. We see her screaming, we see her flopping around and yelling, but we never see Candyman in this recording. Um, However, she then basically like summons Candyman when she's sitting in Dr. Burke's office by looking over in that mirror and saying his name. And we see Candyman then pop up behind uh, Dr. Burke and kill him. Um, I think at this point, I'm still thinking it's Helen until I see this scene. And then Candyman goes over and cuts the straps where she's free because she's still chained up this whole time. But he cuts the straps where she's free, and she crawls out the window after he flies through the window. Um, Here's when I begin to question it even more because now I'm like, okay, wait a minute, this has to be Candyman because how else did she get loose? So I'm still struggling with that a little bit, but now I'm almost thinking that it has been Candyman, and he's just making it look like it's her. Um, so tell me your perspective here. When we see Candyman hovering above her in the bed, she doesn't see it in the recording, and now Dr. Burke's kill. Share with me your thought process through this.
Well, the mind's a powerful thing, right? Like you could almost trick yourself into believing lots of things,
Sure.
especially this is of course where it's like kind of the hardest one to kind of prove in any kind of way, but um I do like that she weaponizes Candyman
Yes.
in this instance. Like that's
Yeah, I like
kind of
that
what
too.
she really does.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, let's see if I got any more notes on this one. Um, I like that there's a pause even before his death because she says it, and then there's like a good lengthy pause before anything happens, and you're like, oh, maybe it is all in her head, and then boom,
Right.
Candyman's up behind him, gutting him.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if
Okay.
I have an answer for this scene.
Okay. Like I said, for me, it was when she's watching that recording, I'm like, yeah, trying to look at this as I've never seen it before, and again because it had been so long since I've seen it. When I'm watching the scene and she's seeing herself on this recording, and it's almost like she's beginning to even wonder, um, like, have I lost my mind? Is this really me? Because I don't think she even knows now at this point what's happening. So I'm like, yeah, it's been her this whole time. But then when we see Candyman kill the doctor, yes, your mind can play tricks on you. You can think this is what you're seeing, but for some reason, just the simple fact that he cuts her loose makes me lean towards okay, this Candyman setting her up, like that kind of thing. Like I'm just trying to still figure it out, and I don't have a definite answer. But I think that's one of the great things about this movie is you can't quite figure it out. It's not definite. But it definitely makes you wonder and keeps you kind of on the edge of your seat trying to figure out what really is going on. Is it Candyman or is it Helen? Um, yeah, so it's again, it's another scene that I absolutely love. I do love the scene where, after the kill, Tony Todd, takes off through the window, and yeah, it's just another beautiful scene in my opinion. Helen then escapes the hospital. She ends up dressing up as a nurse, well, knocking out a nurse and taking her clothes so that she can escape. One thing though that I failed to mention that I had forgotten about is when she's talking with Dr. Burke before that happens. Um, she feels like this has just been kind of an overnight thing. Doesn't the doctor mention to her that they've had her sedated for like a month, that she's been in this hospital for a month? I had completely forgot about that as well. Um, yeah, so for that as well, I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. There's a lot going on here that I didn't realize. But um, yeah, when she gets back into the place, and then we do find out that good old Trevor is with this other student of his, and he's moved on very quickly. So we're just more evidence of the kind of person that Trevor is. Setting up for this next stage, though, this final act. This movie, and this is not going to be anything breaking. I'm sure other people have thought this 1,000 times, but it just the final act of this movie feels so much like Dracula to me.
Mhm.
I see, it's just so, and I had forgot about that as well. I almost feel like that this is like a Dracula scene when, Helen goes back into these Cabrini Greens, and um, just the way everything is playing out there. It just, she finds out that she looks like the girl that Candyman was involved in, which is similar to the Dracula story. Um, there's just so much there that happened. We finally do get the great bee scene, another classic scene where Candyman opens his mouth and the bees come out. But I had forgotten how much this final act reminds me of the Dracula story. Um, in this final act, where she goes back and all of this is going on, what stands out to you? What's your favorite part of, or parts in this?
I would definitely like to take a moment and discuss when Helen goes back to the apartment to find it being painted,
Okay,
because I think that is an incredible, well acted sequence from everybody involved, but especially Virginia Madsen in this moment, because she goes through every range of emotion just in her eyes alone. It
I
is
agree.
incredible. She's got sadness, hate, regret, um, just everything you can think of, resentment. And then when she realizes how scared they are of her, she begins to weaponize it as
Yeah,
well
right.
and use it to her advantage. And you can tell that she sort of likes it,
Yeah,
because she definitely has this I didn't do anything, but I can tell just the thought of me doing something to you would mess you up. I'm going to use that and make sure that you guys don't have anything over me, really.
yeah. She kind of gets almost like a cockiness to her about it, and that's where, when we were talking earlier about Sandra Bullock being an incredible actress, but not being able to imagine this as Virginia Madsen. I don't know if anybody could have done this better than she does, because I agree with you. Her performance, just with her eyes alone, is incredible here, and I just can't. God, I can't imagine Sandra Bullock or anybody else being able to pull that off quite the way she did here. So, yeah, I agree with you 100% about this scene, and um, yeah, I thought the same thing you that she's kind of weaponizing this, but I didn't think about it till you said that just now. She does seem to enjoy it. I mean, it like I said, there's almost like a cockiness to her in a way. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't think about that when I was watching the movie, but I can definitely see it now.
Yeah, like I think it sets up where her story ends very well. Because it's like she isn't this person and doesn't want to be, but like it kind of likes the having the power over these people, and especially the people that like totally betrayed her and everything like
Right.
that. Like her husband, like Trevor, is such a gaslighting piece of shit. Like
Yeah.
he frustrates me to the core. And only a month later, having I can't remember what her name is. It's Stacy or Sally or something like that. Move
Yeah.
in and paint the whole fucking apartment pink. Like, give me a break. Oh Jesus. Um, but It's not really the one girl's fault. It's all Trevor, really, in the end. But
Yeah.
like just a
Yeah.
month after she's been committed, and she even makes a statement like, "You knew I wasn't even going to get out of there, right? Like that's why you never come and saw me or see me or call me." Well, not
Right.
like she would have known anyways, but I don't
Still,
think he
yeah.
did.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, he moved on
So,
way too quickly. So yeah.
well, he
Um,
was already. I think
oh well,
those
yeah.
late night stuff were definitely telltale to signs of him cheating for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they give you that hint where she's trying to call him at like I don't know what time it is, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's not there, obviously, to answer the phone. So you get a pretty good idea of what's going on. Um, so yeah, I agree with you 100% in that scene. Um, when she's there at the to go back to where she's back at the Cabrini Greens, and she's trying to rescue the baby. Um, earlier in the film, they had I forgot what they call it, but that stack was there. She asked the little boy about what was going on there, and they were setting up for that bonfire. Um, Now that she's there and she knows the baby is there, so here is where I also begin. I still have a hard time deciding what's really going on with Helen is because in my thought process, if she's the one that's been doing these killings and this is who she's become, um, now she seems perfectly back on the good side. She's because now she's just wanting to save this baby and get through all of this. So I think her story is continuing to just kind of be so back and forth that you don't really know what's happening. But this is another scene that I absolutely love. You've got the people gathering around that are saying he's here. They're setting this on fire, having no idea what's going on inside this stuff. You've got Helen inside. She's trying to save the baby. You've got Candyman there, wanting her to just come with him now. It's another scene that I think looks incredible. I think the special effects here look really good also. Um, I don't know how she possibly escaped, especially with all that stuff falling on her. But yeah, it's a great scene. Share with me your thoughts on this as the movie begins to wrap up and we hit this finale with this bonfire going on.
Yeah, so I really enjoy it. I mean, like she's always been out to protect the innocent, especially like she wants to look after Jake.
Right.
Um, so and like her every time she talks to Candyman, it's all about sacrificing herself in order to save the baby
Sure.
and give the baby back to Anne Marie. Like during the moments just before this, I'm gonna call it the cathedral is kind of where they're at. It's kind of has that
Right.
kind of vibe to it, like a
It
creepy
does.
old cathedral.
Yeah.
Um, she goes, "Oh, you betrayed me. Like you said that you were gonna give the baby back as long as I gave myself to you."
Right.
And he's like, "Nah, I know I told you that, but that's just kind of not what's gonna happen. We're all gonna go
Yeah.
down infamously, essentially."
Right.
Um, so yeah, I like where it goes, even knowing like yeah, like shoot, it would be super hard to get out of there. Incredibly difficult, but the burn marks on her look incredibly well done. There's
Yeah.
the sequence where she's crawling out, and I think you can see a little bit of her spinal cord
Yeah. I think so.
from the burns, and I'm like, oh, that's just disgusting. But
Yeah.
it works. Her hair all like frizzled
Burned
off and
off.
everything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Scalp burned. Yeah.
You also get Tony Todd with his chest plate reveal.
Yes.
Oh, and the bees, like that is just top notch practical effects right there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's such a great ending. Everything just ramps up one more notch. And while to go back to something you said about she's always wanted to protect the innocent and protect the baby. I think more of what I meant was is because I feel like you're kind of along this journey with Helen, you're almost on like a descent into madness for her a little bit. You're wondering if she's the one that's killing some people. And again, because she seemed to so much enjoy some of the power that she had back at the apartment with Trevor and his new girlfriend, I feel like we have seen her character a descent into madness. But here, she manages to get it all back, and she's back to just being a good person, wanting to save this baby, which just makes it harder for me, is what I was trying to say, on figuring out did she really ever do any of this, or has it been Candyman this whole time? Because Even though she's gone through hell and had moments where she seems different, you can tell here she's still just a good person wanting to do whatever she has to do to help someone else, and in this case save the baby. um, but yeah, again, with you here. I love the special effects. I love the way her body looks. I love the Tony Todd scene with the chest plate. There's so much of this that I think looks incredible. Another scene that I had forgot about there is then now that Helen, she dies, and we get to her funeral. I had forgot that everyone from this complex shows up at her funeral there, and the boy drops the hook in her grave. Um, I had forgotten about that scene as well. But again, that's another scene that I think is just an incredibly powerful scene, seeing the impact that she had on these people in what she did, for them, and trying to save Anne Marie's baby, and going up against Candyman for a lot of them, basically. So again, I think another very good scene, another very powerful scene here. Um, I want to know any thoughts you might have had that, and then the actual finale with Trevor, uh, and what happens with him. Yeah, just share with me your thoughts on the end of the film in general.
With Trevor? Oh, it's too little, too late to be sorry, bud. Um, Trevor, you get everything that came to you, well deserved. And like he didn't even end up like picking a nice girl either. Like that Sally girl is just she's so mean at the end of the movie. Like this guy just lost he literally just buried his ex-wife, and you're gonna
Right.
be like a not nice to him. Just give him a break. Give the dude a break. Okay. Like
Yeah.
sure, there was love there at some point. Just because you're in the
Right.
picture now doesn't mean that that's just gone.
Yeah.
So I was like, she can fucking die along with Trevor, but unfortunately, she doesn't say Helen's name 5 times in the mirror. So
Exactly.
the torch has been passed, and I like that she becomes her own urban myth after that. Now the whole time trying to search for real ones, and she ends up becoming one.
Yeah.
And the same with Trevor denying them their reality and the fact that some of them are based on reality. He ends up being the first victim of the new one.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's incredibly poetic, and I also think that like going back to like the whole film, I think that like Candyman seems like he was kind of setting her up to be the next Candyman,
Yeah. I agree.
making that transition. And I kind of when the community of Cabrina Gearing come and drop the hook off is kind of where I felt like that was a passing of the torch kind of
Right.
moment for her.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
No.
How did you feel about that?
No. I agree, and I didn't. I kind of wondered about the hook. I mean, I knew they were there, like I said, for her, because of everything that she had done. And the hook, I wondered. You saying that kind of makes sense. I was like, why would they do that? But I do agree with you 100% that I feel like Candyman was setting her up um, to to be the next one throughout this, and I love that that's where the movie went with it. I love that ending that Trevor doesn't even realize what he's doing, and he just keeps saying her name. He's just sitting there in regret now at this point for the way everything's gone, and he's mourning and having such a tough time, and he's just saying her name. It doesn't even realize what he is doing, and then she shows up because she is the myth now, and ends up killing him. So it's what he deserved. He got exactly what was coming to him. But I do love that approach and going that way with it. It makes me wonder, as far as the sequels I've seen, the sequels once each, and it's been forever ago, so I remember very little about them. I feel like Helen is mentioned in one of them, but I'm definitely very curious to go back and watch now and see where they went from there. Um, because I love the idea of her being the next Candyman type thing. Um, I'm just still a little confused about them dropping the hook in the grave, because that does make sense that that's the passing of the torch. But then I don't know. It's almost odd to me to think that these people that have gone through all this would be the ones to do that. You know, maybe it makes sense, and just I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that part. But um, whether I completely understand it or not, I still like it. Yeah, I think this movie It does a great job. I don't think you get a lot of definite answers, but I think that's the perfect way to do this, is to not give you those answers, to leave you wondering. So I think the ending just lines up with the way that's happened throughout the movie, to be honest.
Mhm.
So to go back then and talking about this, and if there's anything else you want to mention that I may have missed or that we haven't covered, but going back now and looking at this movie, watching it again, talking about some of the things we've talked about, what would you give this on a scale of 1 to 10? Where would you rank Candyman?
Well, I was trying to go back and think about, because we did a ranking of like all the first movies on your channel out of
Right.
every franchise, and I was trying to go
Yeah,
back and think of where I put this one exactly. And I want to say it was within the top two.
I believe that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this movie, like 100%, gets like a 10 out of 10 for me. I love this movie. I think it's so gothic. It's so creepy. It's got a sympathetic villain. You have an amazing lead actress. The score is fantastic. This is just kind of like right up my alley. Urban myth movie. And like a supernatural serial killer. Me and Sam were just literally talking about this not that long ago about how hard it is to do a supernatural, like a legitimate supernatural like myth kind of uh, urban legend type killer, not like Freddy or Jason, or not like
Right.
Michael and Jason, but like Freddy or um, some other ones like the Drownsman and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
Candyman. So like this is like between this and like Freddy Krueger, these are like the best ones.
Yeah.
So 10 out of 10, easy, no problem for me.
Yeah. It's interesting because and I just did. In fact, I just listened to that episode where you guys were talking about that again this morning. For some reason, I almost feel like the character's name is like Jeffrey or
Oh,
Jimmy or
Jimmy.
so. Jimmy, that's
Yeah.
it. Okay, yeah. I was like, I know, I just heard them talk about that. So yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, for some reason, and I remember back when, like you were talking about, when we ranked these first movies in so many of these slasher franchises, and I think I even said then it's been forever since I've seen Candyman. I forgot how much I enjoyed this movie. I absolutely loved this rewatch yesterday. Um, Before I watched this yesterday, if you would have asked me where I would have ranked Candyman on that 1 to 10 scale, I probably would have said, oh, I think I like Candyman. I think I like it quite a bit, actually, probably 7, 8, something like that. Watching it yesterday, I was just like, I cannot believe how much I forgot about this movie and how good this is, because I do. I just love absolutely everything about it. I love the performances. We talked about the score. We talked about the cinematography. We talked about the atmosphere, and the fact that it does still leave you with loose ends and everything is not tied up, and you still aren't sure what you've seen. I, I think is incredible. I think this movie is. I think this movie is absolutely perfect. So shockingly, I also feel like Candyman is a 10 out of 10. I probably did not give it enough credit before because I absolutely love this movie. And I'm very curious to go back and see what I think about these sequels now because, yeah, I have not given this movie enough credit. This movie is absolutely incredible. So I'm right there with you for 10 out of 10 for Candyman. It's definitely one of my favorites, and I didn't even realize it. So, um, yeah, I think it's great. Um, I have no idea what's coming because I really don't remember much about these sequels. I really don't. I've seen them both once, and it's been a while. But I'm definitely looking forward to watching them again and see where we go from here.
I don't think they're fantastic, but Farewell to the Flesh was okay from what I remember.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like you're probably right. I feel like I remember watching them and thinking that they were okay. I think that's probably a good way to put it. No, nowhere near this original, but they were okay. Um, which surprises me a little bit, and maybe you can't really answer this without us going back and getting into these. When you look at franchises like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, so many of these that just had so many films. There's 9, 10, 11, 12 of these movies. The Hellraiser franchise had, like, I think 13 Hellraiser movies. Candyman only had 3 up until this legacy thing that came out a few years ago. Why do you think we never got more of Candyman like we did these other iconic villains?
I'd probably say because he was so different.
Okay.
and he also came out in a random time, right? Like this was early 90s. What was this, 94? 99?
Actually, I think this was like 92, maybe 92 or
Y-
93.
Yep, 92. So
Okay.
the slasher genre since then had like sort of died down, and franchisable horror movies were very, it's take a lot of risk in them, right? So like Candyman would have been a new IP. It's like, do a lot of people want to continue to see this? Whereas like Freddy and Jason and stuff like that, they were incredibly, like, Jason was so cheap to make. That's why they
Right.
pumped out like one a year.
Yeah.
Um, Freddy was he was easily marketable.
Right.
Hellraiser doesn't count as a as a fully fledged franchise, because that franchise had no idea where it was going. It just didn't want to lose its IP. Is what
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I think they even made movies for him. Um, but yeah, it just wasn't like even like Scream only has 6 movies to its name
That's
by
true.
now, and that was a movie that started out in the 90s, same as I Know What You Did Last Summer has 4,
Right.
Urban Legends has 3.
Yeah.
I think, and this was like a complete, like it felt like a complete story, right? Like there was no
Right.
real need to go any further. Candyman was defeated by the end of the movie. Helen had since taken over, but
Yeah.
they wanted to keep Candyman because he was like the huge draw for a lot of audience members. So
Right.
I don't know why he never really took off.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably right. The fact that we're talking 90s now and not 80s, because so much of that other stuff, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, so many of those were in the 80s like that when they just kept cranking stuff out. And, sometimes it wasn't even for the best. I love all of those franchises, but all of those franchises suffer from um, things being rushed once in a while just to get it back out there. Some of the sequels don't measure up because they were so rushed and thrown out there. And, um, so maybe had they done that with Candyman, it would have been the same kind of thing. Although I wonder what happened with these sequels now that we're going to go back and watch them. But yeah, I was just kind of curious. But it does make sense. Not everything, it's tough for me because I'm such a franchise guy. But I find myself a lot of times wrestling with something of I love these characters, right? So I want to keep seeing Jason, Michael, Freddy, Chucky, Candyman. I want to keep seeing these characters, but at the same time, I don't want the quality to go incredibly downhill, and not as much as I would continue to love to have watched Tony Todd portray Candyman. I think through multiple films, maybe more than just 2 or 3. Not everything needs a sequel. I mean, it just some things are fine, one offs, and maybe maybe that would have been the case with this one up until that Legacy sequel. Maybe we didn't really even need the 2 that we got, but um, I just think the character itself is so iconic. It makes me wonder why we didn't see more. But yeah, times were different, and maybe we just didn't need it. Maybe we really just
Yeah.
didn't need it. So, um, but yeah, um, I think that's about it. Anything else you want to say about the movie before we get ready to wrap this up? I think we've said just about everything we can, but anything I missed?
No, I think yeah, I've seen this movie. I think I've done like 3 reviews on this movie in the last like 2 years. So I think I
Okay.
said all I could possibly say about this movie at this point.
All right. Very good. Well, Brendan, thank you so much for coming on. This is, as always, been a blast. I love talking this stuff with you. So thank you again for coming on. I'm looking forward to continuing to go through this franchise with you. And then, yeah, my next episode, the very next recording I do, will be with you and Sam to talk about Scream. So looking forward to y'all coming back on for that. Um, one more time before we get off here, go ahead and take a minute to promote your channel and mention anything that you guys might have coming up here as we wrap up October.
Of course. And thank you so much for having me on. It is always such
Yeah,
an incredible blast. Thank you for giving me a reason to buy Scream on 4K. So I will be watching it in ultra high definition for the first time when we
very cool.
come back next time. As for me and what we got going on over the channel, we do lots of live streams and stuff. And on the 27th, so that'll be the next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be discussing Rob Zombie's Halloween. Sam is
Very
very
cool.
excited. I'm interested to talk about this movie again. It's been a long time, but
Yeah.
yeah, we'll kind of see how that goes. And then I think she's planning on trying to do something for Devil's Night, but we have not figured that out at the moment.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Yeah, definitely be sure and go check it out. Again, I know I've said it multiple times, but Brendan and Sam are the reason that I even started a YouTube channel. So I think, there's a lot of good channels out there. I've met some amazing people through the horror community and people that I love collabing with and have a great time with. But again, for me, it all starts with Our Life in Horror and you two. I think y'all are the best at this. So I definitely recommend people go and check out your channel and watch what you guys do. Subscribe, become a member. I know y'all have the membership out there, so people definitely need to do that. And yeah, then coming up here on my channel next week will be Scream with Brendan and Sam. Will also be later in the week Terrifier with Mike from Mike and Serial. So yeah, that'll be fun as we wrap up October, and then again, as I mentioned, some good stuff coming up in November. My next live stream will be in December. I don't have the exact date yet picked, but if everything works out the way I think it's going to, Brendan and Sam will be on with me for that as well. And then next year, Brendan and I were just talking about this yesterday, and I talked to Bo from Critic After Dark this morning. Next year, I'm also going to implement talking about some superhero movies occasionally here and there. Me, Brendan, and Bo are going to walk through the DC universe and talk about those films. So there's a lot of fun stuff coming up on the channel, new episodes down the road. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do so you don't miss anything. Follow me on social media. I'm on pretty much everything out there: Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, X, everything. I post videos every Monday and every Thursday, bonus episodes from time to time on Saturday. Yeah, and just have a lot of fun doing it. So thank everybody for the support. Thank you everybody for watching today. Thank you again, Brendan, for coming on, and I will see you all soon.